Hi guys, how you been? This is Matthias, and this is my new series which I started just an episode earlier. Now this is the second episode. I'm going to name it the good old way. All right, and as opposed to the good old party, I'm going to say the good old way. And today is January 3, 2026. All right, and for those of you who have been following me, when I ended the first video, I've been discussing about John Locke and his discussion about where does political power originate from? What is the source of political power? And he says political power originates from people's inherent freedom. Right? But it's a little bit what you call it. It's not intuitive. Can you say? I mean, it takes a serious thinking to discover that political power originates from people's inherent natural freedom, the state of nature. So that's his argument. And so why does it becomes the origin of political power? Because everybody is born into freedom, regardless of who that person is. It doesn't matter whether that person is man or woman. All right. It doesn't matter if that person is, black or white. It doesn't matter if that person is poor or rich. All right, that person is born into freedom. And what does that freedom entail? That freedom means the person can do whatever he thinks proper without asking leave or permission from any other person, especially if that person comes to be a full human being, a matured adult, someone who can take care of himself. All right, and that's the state of human beings. All right, and because people are born that way, all right, there is no natural inherent desire for people to ask other people's for what you call it. They can think on their own. They are endowed with that natural right. It's not because they are Muslim, it's not because they are Christian, it's not because they are Jews, it's not because they are Buddhist. It has nothing to do, just because the fact that they are human beings, they are born into it. They are just born free. That's their state of nature. It doesn't matter. I mean, that is so. I like you know before the Abrahamic religion. That's so because before the Hinduism. That's so because before Confucianism. That's so just that's humanity. They are born into that freedom. But this freedom, uh, as blissful as it is, all right, it's very dangerous because everybody is free and everybody can do whatever it wants to do. The problem is they can use this freedom to inflict pain to each other, or to to heckle each other, to hurt each other, to offend each other, to suppress each other, to oppress each other, to expropriate each other, to steal each other, to kill each other. That it's just on the precipice of becoming a curse. That same thing, that freedom, that human freedom, which everybody is born into and everybody needs for his survival, for his success, can easily flip and turn to be his own demise. So it's so dangerous thing. So that is what give rise to a government. And what's government then? The government is the enforcer. Government do not make rules. All right. Now don't be fanatic on me and say what is that I've been watching this movie. This guy says there is no there is no FBI in the American Constitution, and I would not respond to FBI and so forth. No, even though there is no FBI in the American Constitution, there are enough provisions in the American Constitutions to allow, for example, the Congress or the executive or whatever to create an institution like FBI or other no law enforcement organization. Therefore, don't be fanatic and so when I say don't take me out of context, when I say governments cannot mean laws out of their pocket. All right, you cannot just write anything that you want as and pass it as a legislation, because laws are supposed to be the reflection of the law of nature. And what is that law of nature? That law of nature is Whatever you don't want to be done to yourself, don't do to others. There is no like, even though if you are Christian, you know it as a Bible, or if you are like, it's the so-called like, the golden rule of the Bible, or if you are Confucian, like, if you are, what to call it, if you know about Confucianism, he also says it, all right, in some like, altered way. And even Thomas Hobbes says that it has been there always. And like, I have studied and I have found, I mean, people always have known that, like, you want to live with people, don't do to others what you don't want it, what you don't want to be done to yourself. That law has been always there. People have known it for centuries. All right. So the government comes to enforce that what you don't want to do yourself, don't do to others. Because when you do that, when you trespass, that invisible, all right, boundary between yourself and the next person, like, since everybody is born into freedom, everybody is literally a king. He has got his own dominion and he can do whatever he wants to do. Like, even as I said earlier, like, the only bound, like, within the bounds of, like, within the bounds of the law of nature, the person can do whatever he wants to do. But that means that like, that bound of nature puts a boundary between himself and the next person. He can do whatever he wants. He can use his naturally gifted freedom to do whatever he thinks is proper, all right, to his benefit, to his interest, whatever. But when he does that, he shouldn't be infringing upon the same freedom of the other person. Otherwise, they would be clashing. And that clash can turn out to be, as like, Thomas Hobbes puts it, a state of nature, a state of war. Actually, like, what you call it, if you read properly between, like, Thomas Hobbes and John Locke, the difference is, for Thomas Hobbes, the state of nature is equal to the state of war. That means if there is no government, all right, if, like, in the absence of government, the state of nature immediately, automatically, almost, like, what you call it, it defaults into the state of war. That means everybody would be against everyone. All right. That's the understanding of Thomas Hobbes. That's his, like, governance philosophy. That's, like, that's how he understands political power. Because people default into subjugating, hurting, and, like, stealing, killing, maiming each other. All right. The moment by some miracle you took out the government, all right, then they would be back into that state of war where everybody will be against everybody. I mean, uh, like, I, let's say, okay, like, the Leviathan. If you see the Leviathan, if you see the cover of the book, uh, there is an image, all right, like, he has an image for that book. Like, the image is, there is the prince, all right. He's like, he's made of everyone else. Yeah, like, if you zoom in, look into the picture, he's like, something like a stature. The problem with being is, it's not a good Leviathan. You took it to the biblical thing, all right. The Leviathan, by the way, I don't know, for those people uh, who don't know, the Leviathan is the book written by Thomas Hobbes. All right, like, the Leviathan is, this is, like, the Leviathan is the book written by Thomas Hobbes. And the cover of the book is some artwork. This is the artwork. All right, like, this is the artwork. In this artwork, if you look at the prints, all right, like, what you call it, I couldn't forget, like, if you zoom in closer and look at, like, you see that the prince is not just a human, it's not just a person, but, like, every individual has constituted that prince, and that prince is protecting the city, all right, the city. like he has his mace, his like sword and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is his understanding of government is the understanding of Thomas Hobbes. He understands government to be a vanguard, a protector of the people from themselves. A society, if you leave it to itself, by default, all right, it reverts back to the state of war, and it would be everyone against everyone. All right. That's his understanding of the state of nature. The state of nature is almost indistinguishable from the state of war. But Thomas Hobbes, like John Locke, understands it completely different. He says, in the state of nature, until that state of nature is disturbed by some, some, like deviation, the state of nature, people live happily and peaceably. Yeah, right. Like it's it like until the state of nature can stay for a while. People can stay can live peaceably amongst themselves for a while until uh, someone's ambition, someone's malaise, someone indignation, all right, destabilizes the equilibrium. It might for Thomas Hobbes it's immediate, it's automatic. All right, it's automatic. And but Thomas Hobbes argues otherwise. People can live peaceably until that peace is disturbed. All right, the state of nature, they can stay there. So it's like uh, an accident. All right, an accident doesn't just happen every time, but it's inevitable that it will happen. All right, it's inevitable, it will happen. Therefore, it's better to hedge against it than to say that who knows, it might not happen. Wisdom dictates that you hedge against it. Therefore, the origin of political power is that hedging for Thomas Hobbes. That hedging, people trying to hedge against the whimsical nature of human beings. All peoples have understanding, and all people have understanding, all people are reasonable doesn't mean that they will not violate it. At times passion comes in, at times self-interest comes in, at times anger comes in and so forth, and people violate the law of nature. That means that reciprocity, whatever you don't want to be done to yourself, don't do to others. They forget that, they just throw it out of the window and act on their passion, act on their anger, act on their what you call it, selfishness, their greed, and they disturb, right, the pact, the peace. And the government comes to make sure that they are protecting human beings from that. So the political power originates from that ever-present danger that's brought about because of humans, natural state of complete freedom. People are born free, they have complete freedom, they can do whatever they want to do without asking permission or leave from anyone else. But because people are biased, because people are passionate, because they are not good judges of their own causes, unless a third party comes in and arbitrates them. But that arbitration is not based on the wills and wishes of the king or the ruler, but based on the reflection of the law of nature that dictates whatever shouldn't be done to this one shouldn't be done also to this one. All right, so it's on that equality, that status, that to make sure to ensure that state that governments are brought into being. And if you, let's say, if you Jean-Jacques Rousseau, if you Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Rousseau, he opened the statement, he explains it in such a beautiful way, all right, well, so Rousseau, in the in the the social contract, he says, the subject of the first book, he says, man is born free, and everywhere he's in chains. As I told you, that chain is not just normal chain where people would be like chained, constrained, and restricted. Rather, it's the society. That's the chain that he's talking about. So, like as I told you, man is born free. Like man is a political animal. He defaults to come into a society. So man is born free, and everywhere he's in chains. Here is one who thinks he's in the he's the master of others. Like he's saying man is more intelligent and smart in governing all other creatures. It's true, but like he's trying just to be poetical. Yet he's more enslaved than they are. Like human society is more constricting, more restricting than the animal kingdom. Like by contrast, animals, all right, except those who which are under human control, or like pets, or like what you call it, pets, or those cows and so forth. Those kinds of animals. The animals are freer than human beings. They are at liberty. Even the saying goes, as free as a bird, right? You just can fly wherever you want to. But humanity is more enslaved than them. But even though he's born, so he's constrained and restricted by society. All right. But how did this change? The question is, how did this change come about? Yeah, how does a person who's born free, nature has endowed him with all kinds of abilities, and just pushed him out a free human being, even though he needs tutelage, he needs care and so forth. At some point, he's going to be completely free. So how does such a being who's created completely free comes into such enslavement, even more enslaved than wild birds? All right. And that's what I want to answer you. That's the social contract that bound him, he's saying. All right. That's the social contract that bound him. And why does that bound him? He say, I don't know. Why did what he's saying is, I don't know why the social contract becomes inevitable for human beings. All right. I'm not trying to do some metaphysical discovery. All right. It is so. It's what you call it. There are people. Why are we created? That's metaphysical. You can wrap your brain around that, but it's almost pointless. All right, you're there. Know why, what you call it, what you can do, what you can make the best out of it, kind of thing. So I don't know the why part. All right, but what can make it legitimate? All right, where does political power arise from? A legitimate political power, not just some random mere political power, but a legitimate political power. Where does it come from? All right. This is a question that I think I can answer. The total social contract is about answering that question. All right. Man is born free. He's completely free. But why does he find himself in a social constraint? Why does he find he find himself in a social contract? All right. I don't know the metaphysical part of it, but what legitimizes it. I'm going to answer you. And he says, all right. He goes on to say, uh, all right. So, he says, if I took into account nothing but force in what can be done by force, I would say, all right, the reason if the if you someone argues that the reasons people come under social contract is if you the only factor to consider is force, all right, um, they are forced into it. They are coerced into it. It's not their choice. All right. There was something more powerful. Let's say some tyrant, some religious dictator, some fanatics, and so forth. It just coerced them. They forced them, and they brought them under, that kind of social contract. They forced them to live together, kind of thing. All right. And that's a force argument. All right. Why does a society come into being? Because it was forced by government, you can say. And you can say, but that's not tenable. As long as people is constrained to obey, it does well to obey. All right. As soon as it can shake off the yoke, it does even better to shake it off. If it is right to do so, is challenged, it can answer that it gets its liberty back by the same right, namely force that took it away in the first place. That means if people are brought together by force, all right, if it is force that creates a polity, if it is some kind of coercion, external coercion by some tyrant or ruling dynasty, or ruling oligarchy and so forth. If it's that thing that brought them together, it's a matter of time before they break the chain and declare their independence. All right. And if you ask them, if you consider that that's unlawful, why do you break the bond? Why do you break the chain? Like, the same principle that brought me in brings me out. That means you bring me by force, and I bring myself out by force. So whatever is taken by force can be taken back by force. If somebody snatch something from you, and it says that that is the law, all right, you snatch it back, and they say that's also the law. So whatever can, what's damaged, what's taken, what's snatched by force, can be snatched back by force. So it's not a matter of force that brings people together, all right. It gets liberty that took it away in the first place. Any justification for taking it away equally justifies taking it back. If it's taken from you, your liberty, your freedom, all right, your God-given, when we say, I think we have to qualify it, like, you are not, we are free, but that freedom is not limitless, all right? It's bounded by at least the law of nature, assuming the law of nature also includes, all right, uh, those things, and the golden mean and physical restrictions. So if somebody takes that freedom by force, you can take it back by freedom. That means somebody forces you and denies you your freedom. If you fight back and get back your freedom, uh, nobody can say, no, you are illegal. That's wrong, because whatever taken by force can be taken by force, and it's justifiable, completely justifiable. All right, and he says, and if there was no justification for its being taken away, no justification for taking it back is called for. All right. So you cannot question, what, somebody snatch something from your hand by force, you snatch it back. That person doesn't have the moral standing to question your snatching back. He can do it because he violated the principle, right? He justified his actions simply through might is right. And you have, if you have the might, of course, he's wise enough to say that if you don't have the power, you have no choice, you better submit. But if you have the power, you can take it back. And if anyone challenge you saying, how do you take it? That's illegal. And you can say, you also are illegal because you take it without my consent, so I take it back. But the social order isn't to be understood in terms of force. It is a sacred right on to which all other rights are based. And so if we jump some five, that's the opening of the book. If we jump some 4, 5, chapters and come to the sixth chapter, which is the social compact. So if it is in the first part, what you were saying is society doesn't come into being by force. All right, if it was brought by force, it can break the band and be free. All right, now we are talking what you call it, the first principle kind of thing. All right, if we don't even have a choice, we have to understand it, discover, and leverage that. If I, or what I'm trying to say is making sense. So society doesn't come, what he's trying to say in the first chapter, right? The first chapter, what Rousseau is trying to say is society um has become a chain. It has constrained human beings, and it has constrained them even more than animals have constrained by, like animals of the wild, man is more constrained than that. But the question is, how come a human being who's born free comes into that social structure? Is it because force? No, it's not force, because if it is by force, it's a matter of time. They would break free, and they would break free and throw out the chain, and everybody would be free. There would be no government. There would be no state. That is not what brings society together and hold them together. All right. Locke was saying what brought society together is freedom, state of freedom. People are free, and their freedom, as blissful as it is, but it's very dangerous because of passion, because of ignorance, because of this and because of that. People can use their freedom to infringe or bring heart pain and suffering onto other people. That is a recipe for disaster. That would automatically turn the state of nature into the state of war, where everybody will be all right. uh, Everybody will be against everybody. The same thing is being repeated by uh, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, France. So the social compact, he says, let us take it that men have reached the point. Why do they come together? It's not because they are forced by some external force. It is their natural state that forces them. Their security becomes untenable. They reach to this point. All right, he says, let us take it that men have reached the point at which the obstacles to their survival in the state of nature, where they are completely free to do whatever they want to do, overpower each individual's resources for maintaining himself in that state. People found out that they cannot indefinitely keep themselves in that complete state of nature, freedom, because it's fraught with danger. Anytime anything can happen. All right, they can be easily outmaneuvered, they can easily be outnumbered, they can easily they cannot defend themselves. But where that sense of insecurity come? Because everybody had that liberty, that freedom, and they can abuse it. All right, so this primitive condition cannot go. The human race will perish unless it changes its manner of existence. It is not it's what you call it, it's almost anthropological. It's just what you call it, dictated to, they have no choice. It's not because somebody wants to be a king that that gives rise to government. It's because people get smart and elect our leaders. No, it is somehow dictated by nature. All right, state, this community, human polity is something that you enter, what you call it, I you will, of course, but you will under some kind of natural compunction. It's not people can live out in the woods by themselves if they are normal human beings. All right, there are a lot of advantage that they can draw by living together. So that brings them together. But when they come into that society proves to be very dangerous, very flammable. It can cause them more harm than they can imagine. And you can go into history. I mean, people have been abusing each other for eternity. Even even marriage can stand to be hell. People abuse each other too much. So they reach to this point where their personal safety and defense cannot be sustained by their individual effort. They have to devise a solution. So now men can't create new forces. They can only bring together ones that already exist and steer them. So their only way to preserve themselves is to unite a number of forces so that they are jointly powerful enough to deal with the obstacles. They have to bring these forces into play in such a way that they are act together in a single trust. So it's just a kind of pooling resources. Of course, it has got also economic advantage. That's where Adam Smith comes, especially when he talks about the division of labor and how it I mean, can you imagine everything that you afford, your phone, your mobile, your laptop, your car, your house, your bed, and it's the function of so many other people, so many other divisions of labor. So politically or economically, society provides a lot of advantage, and they have to use that pooling to benefit themselves. Security wise, also, that's the case. All right. And for forces to adapt in this way, many people have to work together, but each man's force, and they have to find this delicate balance where, but each man's force and liberty are what chiefly needs for its own. They have to be collective beings. All right. Provide common defense for themselves. Use the collective, working integration to benefit them economically. But the reason they need all that collective defense, that collective productive power, is to enjoy it individually. Like, you see the conundrum kind of thing. So it's finding a balance between individual liberty and total collective existence. Finding that golden mean while they are free, but they enjoy that collective good. All right, that's what bring about political power. Like, maintaining individual freedom and giving them that common protection and common provision kind of thing. So he says, so how can he put them into this collective effort without harming his own interest and neglecting the care of he owes to himself? This difficulty in the version of it that arises for my present subject can be put like this: find a form of association that will bring the whole common force to bear on defending and protecting each associate's person and goods. So the collective, the government, like, the state, that delegate, that, like that delegated authority had to be, right, like, the power of the collective. All right, but it's supposed to protect the individual liberty. So they have to live together. While they live together, they have to leave each individual to be free. All right, that's because, to begin with, that's the reason they come to society. So what I was trying to say, like, here, when looking at, so when, like, what I was saying was, the American Declaration of Independence, when it opens, it says, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for men to dissolve, the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume, like, among the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's can entitle them. So that nationhood was entitled to them by the laws of nature, and this is completely, you understand what I'm trying to say. This is just derived from Rousseau, John Locke, and it was just put in one sentence, but it is a complex political theory. Not complex, but, like, a distilled, refined, wonderful political theory. Not only the only political, like, real, what mean, like, sustainable, futuristic political theory is being implied here. I mean, we have to understand the significance of this statement. They are not just, in my view, all right, as I, like, in my reading doesn't suggest that they are just throwing it here. No, there is a wealth of knowledge, political theory behind this thing. And that political theory is, we become a nation, all right, not just whimsically, not because we want to, not because it's, like, somebody's wish and so forth. No, like, we are born free. uh, every one of our every one of us is born free. That's a blessing. But if this freedom is not, our, like, it's not managed based on the law of nature, all right, God's entitlement, then it becomes a curse. All right, and that's when you understand all men are equal and so forth and so, like, that's why they declare all men are equal. That's the only form of existence that ensures a, like, a relatively peaceful, blissful social organization. All right, it is a social compact. Even though Rousseau gets so poetical and says, "Man is born free, now he's in chain," like, everywhere in chain. And don't ask me what makes him in, like, why is he in chain, but I will try to tell you what justifies it. All right, what justifies it is, it's his own preservation, his own prosperity. It's only possible when he exists, like, his own preservation and prosperity is possible when he lives under a social contract, and it's not every other social contract that bring him that pays. The most important thing, all right, it's not, like, it's not all kinds of social agreement, it's not all kinds of social contract that will unleash human potential, human society potential. Actually, that's what I'm trying to say. The entire human history have been, like, an attempt. consciously or unconsciously, purposefully or just haphazardly, people have been trying to discover that kind of social contract that keeps them safe, that keeps them free, that keeps them happy and individually independent while enjoying the collective social benefit. And people have never found that. All right. And it's not every other contract that allows you that. All right. Uh, Actually, I thought I thought Rousseau said it. I couldn't exactly find it in Rousseau for now. Hopefully, I find it some other time. But I come up with an alternative, version of the same thing stated by Locke, in that he says, thus the law of nature stands as an eternal rule to all men. All right, what I'm trying to say is legislation is not up to the legislator. They cannot legislate out of the thin air or out of their pocket. It has to be always in accordance with the law of nature. It has to be reflective of that. Otherwise, it will not create the harmonious society that we're the society with the golden mean cannot be possible if the law is not the reflection of the law of nature. And what's the law of nature? Nothing but it's the realization that we all are equal, and there is the principle of reciprocity. Whatever we don't want to do to ourselves should not be done to others. So the law of nature stands as an eternal rule to all men, legislators as well as others. So the legislators are not entitled, or simply it turns out to be, if the legislator can legislate whatever he thinks right, which is not according to the law of nature, that legislation process would turn out to be, tyrannism, nothing other than that. So legislators as well as others, the rules that they make for other men's actions must as well their own and other men's action. I mean, they should be also governed by the same principle. They cannot be two laws, one for the ruler, other for the people. No, everybody should be governed by the same principle. And because everybody is equally free, and when that is violated, inevitably the society would slide into the state of nature, which is untenable state, it's the state of war where everybody is against everybody. Therefore, maybe I have some in term, my thought might be not as it's not, it might not have a good flow. But what I'm trying to say is, um, when these guys talk about the law of nature and nations come to being based on and assume among parts of the earth the separate equal station to which the law of nature and the nature of God entitled them, they are essentially embedding in this two statements, simple, nations come into being just because, not because somebody wants. It's not whimsical. It is not happenstance. It is a force, a natural force, and it's that thing which brings them into being. So, you can see embedded in it is the second treatise, the whole lot of it, in something like the social contract by Rousseau. And even though Hobbes has a complex understanding of government in society, uh, he has also some bearing into this. So there is a powerful political theory embedded in this concept. So the Americans are saying, the founding fathers are stating that in a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the cause which impelled them to the separation. So, if you take this opening paragraph and expound it, what it is saying is, we're not simple secessionists. We're not some vagabond, bandit kind of secessionist, opportunist who are trying to get political balance because we want some kind of, loot or boot, whatever, something, some opportunities to be seized. No, we are actually following the dictates of the law of nature, and we are bringing into this world a new nation which is based on the law of nature in some ways which is unheard of in I know they're not saying it, but even though they like they don't explicitly say it, but the way they frame history, the way they frame the Declaration of Independence tells you that this is the culmination of the years of human travel, the years of human suffering. People have been all finding themselves between rock and hard places because they cannot live without society, all right? But society was proving to be insufferable. So what is that golden mean? That golden mean was discovered by John Locke. He says, political powers are derived from the natural state human beings are found in. That's a state of complete freedom. But that complete freedom is fraught with danger. Therefore, to assuage that, to just somehow temper it and find the golden mean so that we can create a harmonious society, people create a government which is but nothing but the custodian of the law of nature. And what is the law of nature? The law of nature is the principle that tells us, all right, whatever we don't want to be done to others, we shouldn't do to whatever we don't want to be whatever we don't want to be done to us, we shouldn't be doing it to others, because the moment we do that, we start the state of war, and nobody wants to live in the state of war, because the state of war is nasty, says Thomas Hobbes himself. It makes life poor, it makes life short, it makes life nasty. Literally, he says, he uses such adjective, he uses five terms. Therefore, the Americans in this opening are saying, all right, there is that thing called the state of nature and the state of law. It's God gave us, because they believe in God. You can say, if you're not a believer of God, you can say nature, evolution, whatever. All right. We find ourselves in this complete freedom. This complete freedom inherently leads to a formation of a political unit. But that political unit, or that polity, is formed for the purpose of protecting, all right, just like Locke says, all right, just like Locke said, that's the law of nature stands as an eternal rule to all men, legislators as well as others. The rulers, the rules that they make for other men's action must as well at their own end other men's action be conformable to the law of nature. They cannot mean laws. That law, as I told you, don't be radical on me and say there is no FBI in the American Constitution, so no need of FBI, blah blah. No, that's a very parochial, right? Illiterate interpretation of the American Constitution. But what I'm trying to say is, there is a principle, a dynamic principle, whereby people freedom, the purpose, the reason governments come to be, is to make sure uh, to make sure that people's freedom, life, liberty, and property are protected from others, and other people's life and property are protected from these people also. So it's about that golden mean, creating that harmonious society, and that's what's bringing us to be. All right, they are saying that, and when we do that, but when we do that, we're cutting some political, it says, what's that, a political band which was connecting us with the Britain. We're about to sever that, but we owe it to the world, to humanity, to explain why we do what we do, why we cut that band. It's not out of secessionism. It's not out of opportunism. Opportunism. It's not out of banditry. It is the defense of our God-given liberty, our God-given right, and it's the dictates of nature. All right, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind. Just no man, the mankind, the race. They are making their case before the world. This says a lot about the American founding fathers. All right, this thing is not just about America. It's just the culmination, the discovery of the final role, and we are justifying ourselves. All right, based on the law of nature. It's not based on our whims. It's not based on our political ambitions. It's based on the law of nature. We're justifying our actions, require that they should declare the cause which impels them to into the separation. So, what is driving us to declare independence, all right, from the Great Britain? It's because we hold, all right, the reason, the justification is because we held these truths to be self evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is not economic opportunism. This is not sugarcoating. This is historical. All right. So understanding this is so profound. All right. It should never be out of our sight. We should always, like, if any, like, any student of history, any politician should have to educate himself about these things. All right. They should understand the significance of it because it's such a phenomenal historical juncture. All right. So people are like, the Americans didn't come to be because they're secessionists, they are opportunists, they are, like, in a gold rush, or they are not conquistadors, or, like, they are not the desperados. Maybe, like, desperation drive them to the west, but desperation didn't lead them into separation. All right. It is some higher principle, what every human being should aspire for, what every human being should defend. That's the foundation of the United States of America. But the, like, the, what you call it, like, this wonderful thing can be forgotten. All right, people can forget it, even while they say, like, we remember. You can, like, the Americans may celebrate, like, Independence Day every year and so forth. It's like, you can be a Christian and, like, celebrate Christmas every day, every year, but forget that it's all about like, Christ, the gospel, like, maybe if you do, all right. So it becomes a ritual. People celebrate it, commemorate it, all right, like, they exchange gifts with it, and so. But, like, the essence, the science, the logic, the historical, the political significance of it, the fruits of it, what humanity has paid to realize this thing, all right. The American Declaration, like, America is not just America, like, for Americans, it's the entire human craving, all right, that brought it. And America should be expanded, not like, that ideal, that principle, that democratic ideal, because it's about liberty, it's all about life, it's all about property. And then, like, some people might consider properties like, what, it's materialism, blah blah, like, no, yeah, even Marx say property is the foundation of individual freedom. You cannot enjoy freedom if you don't have something, all right. Like, you cannot enjoy it without house, without, like, good roads, like, clothes on your backs and a roof over your head and so forth. It is about human dignity. It's so profound, like, it's so deep. So this is the good old way, all right, and it's timeless. It wouldn't expire, all right. It wouldn't fail because humans didn't change. That's who we are, all right. We live to enjoy the, like, of enjoy freedom. We live to enjoy the good things of life. We live to enjoy, like, what properties can afford us. Therefore, the Americans are saying, all right, the founding fathers, we are coming to be a political unit among others in this world. And this is, like, we're not coming to be a nation among other nations because we are some kind of whimsical secessionist, all right, eccentric, power maniacs. No, like, we are coming to be because we believe to be, like, we hold these truths to be self-evident, and others don't believe this thing. They completely stand opposite against it. They don't think that we are equal with them. So the society, all right, even though man is a political animal, even though people default into its, like, communal existence, but like, because not everybody is an angel, all right, others are making it impossible for us to enjoy our God-given right. We are born free. We can dispose of our personal property without asking permission or leave from anyone. We are entitled for that. But some people think they can control us. They are denying us. They are bringing themselves openly declaring that, like, declaring war and bringing us in the state of war because they are infringing upon our liberty. They are trespassing the laws of the boundaries of the laws of nature because they don't believe that we are, like, this freedom which which everybody is born into is reciprocal. Everybody is entitled to it. They don't believe in that, but we do. So it comes a point where we cannot live together because we believe in freedom. We are not interfering in your affairs. We are not coming into that. But they don't let us enjoy our God given liberty. All right. They are, like, they are breaking the walls of nature. They are trespassing. That's the reason we are coming to be a new nation. That's what they are saying. All right. So we hold the reason we come to be is we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving just their just powers from the consent of the government. That's why I told you, like, in those like, clause in the first paragraph, they were essentially embedding the whole argument of John Locke, the second treatise of government, if you will, the first treaty, even though the first treaty is just nothing but, like, rebuttal for Robert Filmer, like, the patriarch. And so, I mean, I want people to understand, like, I want to, as I told you, my idea is to reinvigorate people, to make them understand what is this about, what is this thing, because people are drifting, they're taking it for granted. They assume they know it, but they don't, all right? And so, or at least I think they don't, all right? Maybe everybody knows. So, that to secure these rights, why do the, like, we believe that all men are created equal, and we believe that why do government come to be? Why do they come to be? Because to secure these rights. Which are these rights? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Or, like, you can rewrite it saying life, liberty, and property. All right. Governments come into being to protect the life, liberty, and property of people, which they need to live life to their fullest, to enjoy life to its fullest. And that's endowed, that's given to them by nature for free. All right. So, the founding fathers are stating a very steep, historically refined, uh, intellectually very rich political theory, where, like, they are backed by that when they declare independence. It was not just, it was not, it was not a mere political adventurism. Let me conclude today's the second section with this one. Hope to catch you with the third one. Thank you for listening.